Hello, everybody. It's Gary Stuckey with Real Music. Hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is going to be awesome. I'm just saying. My good friend Kaden Collins is here talking about his show, the KGC Show, not the KGB. Just saying. Are you down with KGC? I know I am. Check out his show over on YouTube. I follow him on Twitter, and we hang out over there, so check him out over there. He's a fellow podcast host, just like me, interviewing all kinds of musicians and artists that you might know, and or you might not know, but you get a chance to hear about them, and they have some great discussions, and it's a lot of fun, very entertaining. Kaden is a super talented guy, lots of fun to talk with, and a good friend. So I think you're going to be inspired by this show because he's got a great story to tell. But here he is. Here's Kaden Collins. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. I've been seeing your shows. You got a lot of cool guests on your show, and that's got to be fun for you. I know for myself, it's fun. And what I like about you too, you're like me. You like to find out what makes people, tick, and what is the motivation behind there. What you kind of bring out their, I guess just what's inside of them that makes them so passionate, about what they do, and it's great for the listener because the listener's going, man, I didn't know that, or this guy is he's legit, he's real, man. I appreciate that guy. So tell me this now. So tell me, how did you start doing these shows?
Well, Gary, first off, it's an honor for me to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. I'm a big fan of what you do, and I think the interview that you did with Danny Stefanetti and Jeff Panzer is just absolutely incredible. And so it's an honor for me to be here. But the how I got started doing the podcast was we just celebrated. My grandmother just passed in 2020, and she died of cancer, and I wanted to commemorate something, and she was my biggest supporter, and the day she died was one of the hardest days of my life. But I knew that I didn't want people to have a pity party for me, and so I kind of thought, how could I let her legacy give on? And that was back when we were told to go home, and you were unessential, and it was back when podcasts were first starting to, be a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hopped on that train, and I thought, you know what, I just give it a shot. I didn't think anything of it. And then a little guy, you might have heard his name, by the name of Jeff Panzer, called me, and he was the guy to believe in me. And he was the guy who said, man, you should start doing interviews. And he kind of gave me a blank sheet of paper and said, all right, let's start new. And that's exactly what I did. Meeting Jeff has been a highlight of my life, and I could not imagine where I'm at here today if it wasn't for Jeff Panzer. And but yeah, man, that's how I got started. Was just wanted to show people that, you know there's other ways to death than just, crying your heart out. Uh, try try giving them an episode of a tribute, really, and that's what it turned out to be. And now it's gone into what it is today, man.
Awesome. Well, tell me this now. Whenever you're interviewing people, I mean, how did you get into knowing how to do that? I mean, what were you doing before, and how did you get into this and interviewing people on the show?
Well, one of my best friends, his name is Blind Joe. He was my very first ever call, and Blind Joe, obviously, he's a singer. He's a singer songwriter, and he and I have been best friends for quite some time now. And anyway, I called him up one day and I said, "Would you do a podcast with me?" And he said, "Absolutely. You're going to be my very first ever interview." And that's how it got started, and how it kind of got to there is that I was kind of I wasn't kind of, I was a prayer. I use prayer for everything in my life, and I was praying to God one day, what can I do to inspire somebody? And I felt him just say interviews, because interviews, as much as I love interviewing, those big names, it's about those small independent artists that, I love to interview because those are what people can relate to because we've all started from somewhere. Those big name artists have started like what we're doing here today, and they've eventually got to the top. But my mindset was, how did they get there? And how did they get there was people like us helping them get to where they got to where they were.
Sure.
And so that really was just my mentality, and that was kind of how the interview started. And uh, shortly after that interview with Blind Joe, I got in contact with Chris Golden, and Chris was kind of like first one out of the Goldens to say yes, and then I started working with Jeff and got all of them on there, and
Cool.
yeah,
Yeah, that's, like I said, when you're interviewing people and you find out more about them, and like you said, people that don't know these artists. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't know some of the ones that haven't really made it yet, so to speak. I mean, but like you said, you get a chance to um, find out more about them. And you're also giving people an inside look that don't know about them. But it's cool to be that guy that brings them to the world, so to speak. Like you're saying, hey, check this guy out, and it's also helping you out, you know. So if they take off, you're going to take off. It works hand in hand. I mean, I know you're not just doing it. It's like me, I don't just do it for me, and I don't just do it for them. I do it for everybody. It's like you're working together and you're helping each other out. But
yeah.
it's so cool though to find out all this information. What has been the most surprising interview as far as you finding out some things about people? Has there been an interview where you're like, whoa, I didn't know?
Well, that happens off the when the camera shut off is when you start to really learn people about people, and it's
Sure,
all
sure,
about what it also is what happens after you hit stop recording, and
sure.
and I'm not sure if I can express any of that, but I think when people ask me that question, what has been the most shocking interview you've done? You know, to see my good friend Danny Stefanetti's career take off and just skyrocket to the top, that means everything to me. And if you could have told me when I first met her that that her career would have taken off, I would have said, yeah, it's a part of God's plan, and so I'm not really sure how I can answer that question because you know, I I try to be as open minded and but it wasn't until a couple days ago that I got really shocked and but I think God helps me with that show, and there's been some incredible people I've talked to, and there's still an amazing group of lineups that we have yet to get on the show, like yourself, man. And but I love just getting to know everybody because I already know everything about me. You know,
Right,
I learn from learning about other people, and that's what makes the podcast unique. Is you could really see when I get into a guest, you can really see that you can see that I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, I get to do this. I don't have to do it. I get to do it.
right. And it's so cool. It's so fun, right? Um,
Yeah.
but if you had like I guess like a statement to say what, or a mission statement, should I say, about your podcast, what would that be?
You know, the one thing I will say is that it's okay if you're different because we all have a voice, and we as individuals, as human beings, we all have a voice. God gave us a voice for a reason. And I wasn't going to try and take it down this road. I was kind of going to be funny with it. But you know what?
Yeah,
I feel like it to be sentimental, and I want it to be sentimental.
sure.
It's okay if you have something that may not resonate with somebody, or it might be okay. It's okay if you have a disability, because look at me, I'm chock full of them, and I'm living my dream. I'm sitting here talking with Gary on his podcast, talking about my stuff. I could have never thought that. But like what he said, it's a community, it's a team. We all rally behind one another. And so I guess my mission statement is it's okay to be different. It's okay if you can't speak properly, because your message is the only thing that matters. And if you have a great message to go along with your great personality, then you're going to move people, and people are going to see the love and dedication that you put into that show. Now, if you fake it, well, there's many places for you to fake it on. Just go on Facebook, you'll see them.
They're
But
there every day.
yeah, but you know what? If you really want to touch somebody, and if you really want to speak to somebody's heart, just be honest and love one another and love what you're doing. That is the best thing I could possibly say, I think.
That's good. That's really good. Um, you were talking about some of the things you've gone through. Are you open to tell us about some of the issues you faced in your life and what you're going
Man,
through?
Gary, I'm an open book, and I sort of DM'd you that. But you know what? I'm an open book, and you know what? The man I am here today is because of me being an open book, and I'm not afraid to answer any question. Now, if I do get uncomfortable, I'll tell you, but I'm an open book, and I'm off limits, and yeah.
So what, some of the things you've gone through, some of the issues you've faced. I mean, what's a challenge in your everyday life, or has been a challenge, I guess, physically, or some things you might be going through?
Well, I am very much uh, autistic, and that's a word that I've never really understood. Because there are different types of autism, and I was scared to talk about it for the longest of time, because then I felt like I would get judged. But you know what? I met a guy by the name of Jeff Panzer, who we mentioned earlier in the show. He took me under his ring. It doesn't matter what what I was facing at the time. When Jeff took me under his wing, I felt it. And that he did this, and William Lee Golden of the Oak Ridge Boys did the same thing. And to see those two, you talk about two iconic names. Those two guys are iconic. And everyday struggle for me is I overthink a lot, really. If that it,
I'm guilty. Guilty.
but I overthink a lot. There are some days where I wake up and I'm like, man, is today really the day? Do I just want to go back to sleep and wake up at 5 o'clock tonight and start my day then, but
Right.
I got to get up and face the day, because you know, the biggest thing I could tell people is that autism doesn't stop me from doing what I love, and it shouldn't stop you. Autism shouldn't be a barrier for people. And I think a lot of the times they have that mindset of, I have a disability, so I can't do anything. I have a disability, so I can't work, or I can't do this or that. You Just because you might have a little bit of a limitation, little bit, that shouldn't stop you from doing what you love. And also, that also shouldn't stop you from getting out there and meeting this different people with the same type of disability that you have, because there are other people out there. And I think you know every way that a person copes with whatever they're going through is their own way, and I think that it's different for everybody. And but if you have people there to talk to, then I think it'd make it easier, if you ask me.
Sure.
I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
No, that's not, and as you're talking, I'm thinking about how, people with going through similar things in their life or have the same, things going on with them too. I mean, whatever it might be, you're an encourager to those people. I mean, any form of life, any person could listen to what you just said and go, I've been feeling sorry for myself, and I've been, really down in the dumps. But when people show you that they're up against a wall and they're still climbing and they're still going strong, it's hard out there to be. If you're 100% healthy and everything's okay and everything's great and normal and whatever it might be, it's hard anyway. But when
Yeah.
you're facing challenges that not everybody goes through and you're still accomplishing goals, man, that's like Superman.
Yeah.
So
You
like
know,
you're like Superman. I'm just saying you overcome things that's above and beyond just most people. To me, that's amazing, and that is God. That's really good stuff, though, man. I'm
you
proud
know,
of
I'll take what I just said and I'll take it a step further.
you.
You asked me what I deal with. I'll tell you how I grew up. I'll go as far back with you as as far as whatever makes a better show, man.
Go for it.
but my thing is this is, you know, when I was growing up in Everett, Washington, I was born on December the 23rd, 2003. And the reason why I remember that date is obviously it's my birthday and I'm celebrated every year. But that was also the scariest day for my family. That was a day that the doctors didn't know what to do with me because my heart had stopped 6 times and the doctors were going to stop at 10. And they did not know if I was going to make it. And to say the Almighty was riding shotgun and didn't have a hand in that would be an understatement because he was there. And Gary, I'm here to tell your listeners one thing. If he can save me from what I went through as a baby, I've had 11 surgeries in my life. Don't ask me to name them all because I couldn't tell you, but
Wow.
I've had 11 surgeries. I've beaten the odds. I was told I was not going to live past 7 years old. Look where I'm at here today. I'm sitting here talking real music with Gary, and we haven't even got into the music parts yet. But that if this doesn't motivate you to do something with your life, make a name for yourself because there's always room for other new great talent. I mean, and don't limit yourself because as soon as you start limiting yourself, that's when it's all going to go downhill. But just have people that love you, encourage you, and most importantly, just know everything is going to be okay. Just
That's
know
right.
that.
Sure. That's good, man. That's. I'm telling you what. I'm encouraged right now just by listening to you. Um, and I'm going to hold on to that too. Well, let's talk about some music though. What when you're listening to music, what's an average day? If you turn on some music, who's the main person or group that you're listening to?
Well, I listen to I when I listen to everything, and when I tell you I listen to everything, I was this morning, the first person I listened to was Danny Stefanetti, her new song. Uh,
Good.
Timing
It's a
was
good
on.
one.
Yeah. And
That's right.
then about 5 minutes after that, after her song got playing, I was playing ZZ Top. So,
That's good.
so my music range from anywhere from Metallica, AC/DC, Plantera, I mean, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, the list goes on and on. So I give you and then I listen to gospel groups too, like the Oak Ridge Boys and William Lee Golden and the Goldens, Blake
Sure.
and Pluck. Uh,
Sure.
and I really just listen to about anything, and then I love listening to independent artists. I think of guys like Kate Staton, uh, George W. Martinez. I love his stuff. Uh, who else? Lee Newton. List can go on and on.
Cool.
But music is how I survive daily, and that that when you asked me earlier, you said, how do you cope with everything? Well, you kind of did. You kind of paraphrased. But,
Yeah,
how do I cope with everything I'm going through? Is music. And music is such a healing power in more ways than one. Every song has a message, whether it be good or bad. But every song has a message. And the message that I love hearing about in my in-ear monitors is is a you know is a message of hope. And that's the kind of music I listen to. Is just music that makes me feel good, and I can be that Superman, and I could take on anything. That's
sure.
the kind of music I listen to.
Awesome. Yeah, music, it reaches people when nothing else can. It brings people together. It's the reason why we're doing these podcasts. And the people that are listening and watching, uh, they're eager to find out from their favorite artist, or they're eager to find out more about whoever you have on the show. I mean, but the number one thing that draws them in is the music, and I've always loved music, and I know you have. It's just like you said, it's something that really stirs your soul, and but the positivity of it is really, that's the best thing about music, and but to have the guests that come on your show, I mean, do do you reach out to these artists or these people that whenever you're doing a show, which I know maybe some of the people that don't understand about how you get these people on your show? I mean, do you talk to them first, or how do you do all that?
Well, it kind of comes natural. There are some guests. What I try and do, and this is a life hack that I'm about to share with everybody on your show, Gary.
Sure.
This is a life hack that always works for me.
Okay.
If you're ever and wanting to go see a concert, and you just want to go see this artist, like it's on your bucket list to go see this artist. what I how I get into concerts and music and everything is I is I schedule an interview with a member of the band of the headliner. And evidently when you get done, you record the best show you've ever done, no stutters, no nothing. You know, no mind mess ups, as I like to say.
That's hard.
And, yeah, and, or coughing in my case
It,
today.
it happens.
But what you do is after you record one of the greatest shows of your life, like you get done and you feel it. Evidently, when the cameras shut off, they will say, "Would you like tickets to the show?" And that's when you say yes. And
Sure.
so, I my thing is this: is if there's an artist or if there's somebody who I really believe in, or if I just haven't recorded in a while, I will shoot out a message. I normally do it, all of it, but then there are some people that help me out. I gotta give props again, Jeff Panzer, who helps me out with a bunch of my stuff, and Sherry Cranford. She's big in the media world too. She helps me out with a lot. So those two are my main people that help me out. But I do most of my booking, and I try to do as much as I can, and even with the merchandise too. That um, I try to do all of it.
Cool. It's a lot to do. A lot of people don't understand that you're doing a bunch of things getting ready for the show. It's not like you just pop in and start talking. You got to do research. You got to go find out. You got to reach the artist first and see what day and when, what time, and if they can do it, and things like that. It's a lot of work. But you know, I think the shows that you've done, you've had some pretty cool guests on there, and as you've mentioned some of them. What are some of the ones that are memorable that you really can't believe that you got on the show and you're like, wow?
Well, right now I'm pretty memorized that I'm talking with you on your show, man. I like I said at the beginning of the show, I've followed you for a while now, and you're I want to say this about you, and I'll answer your question here in a second,
Sure.
but you're you're taking podcasting to a whole different level, and it's incredible to watch, to see you. Here you are, a guy who has the same passion for music as I do, and yet you're doing so great many interviews, and it's so great to watch how you work, man. So, being on your show here today comes at the top of the list for me personally. But I'd have to say Danny Stefanetti. I think and William Lee Golden too. That's a great one to and Jeff Panzer. All of my guests have a special place in my heart because each one of them have signed on to do it. I think of Kimo Forrest, the guitar player for Alabama.
Yeah.
I think of him. I think of Blind Joe, who I've had on. Such a great, funny guy. I'll get him in contact with you for your show, uh, but no, man, I just love every guest I've had on. And a side note to that is, I look at every interview I do as it is my last interview. The fact that people sign on to talk to a guy like me, you kidding? I'm just some hoodlum in progress from Spokane, Washington.
Yeah.
But here come people wanting to talk to me and be on the show, and it means the world to me that every guest. But if you had to kneel me down and say you had to pick one, I'd say Danny Stefanetti.
Well, she's a good one. I call her the Australian sensation. So
Best.
yeah, she's on her way to big things. And what's cool is, and me included, we can say we knew her when, yeah, whenever she's up, up on top of the platform there. I mean, but artists like that are really, it's fun to talk to somebody that's excited about what they do. They're not letting it go to their head, so to speak, but they're full of just life and love and fun, and they're real people, and you find out about them. You could tell they're sincere when you're talking with them. They're not stuck up or anything. She don't have her nose up in there like, don't talk to me, I'm beyond, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to talk to people like that. I mean, she's had a great career so far, but that's got to be cool for you too. To as you're interviewing these guests, where they've been, and you kind of watch them. Especially if they're up and coming, you're kind of like, let's see what they do next, and then you kind of see them go up the ladder. Or if it's a guest that you've known for a while, you can, like you said, you can say, hey, I talked to them, and you're part of their history. I mean, you are part of what they're doing. I mean, it's like I said it the other day. It's kind of like a food chain. It's like when you're in the business of these artists, they have people that interview them. You're part of that industry. You know, you are part of that. If you ever, like you said, you wake up some days and you think, can I just, you know, fast forward? But you know what? When you wake up in the morning, you have a mission and a goal to do what you're created to do. And man, you're doing it, and you're being a part of that, and you're bringing something to people. You have substance, and you have
Yeah.
good things, bringing it to people, and they're watching it. So you created all that through God, and you brought that, and you're bringing it, man. And I'm, like I said, I'm proud of you. That's why I do it too. I mean, it's like, this is what you're bringing to the people, and it's a good product.
You know, alongside that, are the great viewers that you get alongside too,
Yeah.
and we would not have shows if it wasn't for people to continually watch. And when I think of the guys that follow my stuff, or if you really think about it, they're kind of the same people if you think about it, because
That's right.
I see a lot of the people that follow what I do follow you as well. So,
That's
uh,
right.
and I can't even begin to start naming all those people because I mean it's such a great list. But in order, it should be just an honor just to have those people returning to watch and
Sure.
sharing. Jackie Ott is a personal friend of mine out in Tennessee. She loves going to concerts, and we see about it on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And I feed off of her energy, and every time I talk to her, I just, you
Sure.
know, you try to have personal connections and relationships with these people that allow you to do what you do, because that's the ultimate thank you that I could give somebody, is is just being there for somebody, that might be watching my show and be like, man, I wish I could reach out to him and talk to him. Go ahead.
Sure.
That's what I love, is because I love what I do, and I know you do too, because of the people that we get to meet almost daily.
Yeah, it's like, networking. And when you're going like on Twitter or places like that, that's what's so cool is because somebody will tag you in a post and they'll share it. And pretty soon there's this big, following. And
Yeah.
like you said, all my followers or all your followers are kind of intertwined and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, check it out. But see, that, you know, paying it forward is the best thing that anybody can do in this world. And especially like what we do is you have somebody like for your fans, they're watching you for you, but they're watching me too. And for my fans, they're watching me, but they discover you maybe. And it helps. And they find out who you are and what you're about and what you do. And without the connections, they wouldn't know. And these bigger, like you said, Jeff Panzer, the guy's done tons of videos. I'm just saying, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that I told him one time there should be like some book or something about all he's done. People don't know. They need to Google it or find out. But or like William Lee Golden, that's a connection that we have. And he's of course he's from right here in Bruton. But I mean, but you put a name out there like that, and then you have all these connections. The people that are going for William Lee Golden, like you interview them, they go, "I want to check out William Lee Golden." But well, you're a part of that connection, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's just a cool thing to be a part of when you're meeting people like you, and you're meeting people that are passionate and love it. I love to talk to people about music and interviewing people. It's so much fun, right? Don't you think that that's what keeps you going. That's like the gas in your tank, right? When you're talking about music and talking to people about it, seeing their eyes light up whenever they talk about it.
Well,
That's
you
great,
mentioned,
right?
yeah, that you mentioned it earlier. You said music is universal, and that's exactly what it is. You may not be a country music fan, but you know the name William Lee Golden.
Sure.
I mean, you may not be an MT music video fan or a MT or that kind of person, but you definitely know who Lil Wayne is, and you
Right.
definitely know Jeff Panzer has directed all of his music videos,
Right.
and that's a blessing, because you may not be a fan of a genre of music, but you do know what their work is, and that for me is kind of I get to wake up every morning and I say, man, I'm friends with Jeff Panzer. I'm friends with William Lee Golden. I feel good today. When you wake up with that thought in your mind, you really don't have a lot of time to kind of be sad and depressed.
Sure. Yeah, right. And that's the things we need to think about. All these good things. Don't dwell on all the negativity. There's a lot of negativity in the world, right? And that's probably what you're about is being positive in your videos, and you want people to take their mind off all the negativity. That's probably why you're going strong is you don't focus on all the things that are going on with you. You just focus on the good things. And you know what? It really is, through God and through positive thinking. I mean, it's actually a healer. I mean, when you're not, it's kind of like trying to get better from a sickness, but you're sitting in a puddle of mud. You can't get better in a big puddle of mud. You got to get out there in the sunshine, and you got to surround yourself with people that are positive and people that have a desire to keep going up and don't point fingers and they're not all Debbie Downers all the time. It's got to
you
be
know,
positive.
you just said it. That's one of the main reasons I do what I do, and because whenever I'm interviewing a guest like whether it be you or whoever it might be. For that time, I have to forget about everything in my life that's negative, and I put that aside. I don't let that get involved with my work and with this, because nobody wants to hear about that. But the most important thing I could say is people don't come to hear my show to hear me talk. No, they come to hear the artist tell their story the greatest way that they could tell the story. It, my questions are a very small fraction of that show, but the artist make that show what it is because they get on and they're allowed to talk about anything that they want. We don't. There could be a episode where we go an hour. I try not to, but if it happens, it happens. And honestly, for that hour that we're recording, whether we're talking before we go on or before we get off, or I have no problems. I have a job. I have a mission to fill. And that mission is to get independent in country and gospel and stuff like that, to get music out to you guys, to get to those artists that you guys want to hear and learn more about. That's my mission. If I wanted to, have a big old pity pour on me, I would come up with another show and let y'all hear about it on my other show.
Right.
But it's not about that for me. It's about getting to see people's career take off, because when they're up there winning Grammys and everything like Lainey Wilson did,
Right.
that means more to me than anything. That is the greatest payback I will ever receive, is seeing you win an award, because your hard work paid off.
Sure.
I might have been just a small fraction of it, but you can say I am here because of my hard work and dedication.
That's
That's why I do what I do.
that's it, man. That's a great comment. Well, tell me this now. You've accomplished a lot in your few years that you've been doing this. What's your goal for this year? I know we just started off. It's what, mid-February, almost getting toward the end there. But what's your goals for this year, and what would make you happy to accomplish in the next few months or so, or by the end of this year?
My it's basically been my entire life, Gary. My entire life has always been to inspire somebody, because you never know what somebody's going through. And I wish I could tell you, like lose weight or, find a lady that actually loves me for me. I wish I could say all that. But you know what? My main thing is this. When you have nothing when you have nothing, when you are sitting on that corner homeless, just remember that there's one person watching you, and that's God. And when you have God in your life, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on your show, I live my life by this. Once you have God, what other things that He wants you to do aren't just going to be His things that He wants you to do. Everybody has a different way of getting to where their dreams are. You know, I like to think of this: if I can inspire one person, I've done my job. If I can inspire a stadium full of people, I've done my job. But when you ask me that question, what's your goal for 2024? Is for people to look at not only me, but look at my show and say, look at how far that guy's come. If he can do it, I can do it. And that's what I want it to be, is, to inspire somebody. We all have a voice, and we all can create a platform and use that voice of yours. Let your voice be heard, because you're not going to be in the shadows for much long if you put your heart and soul into it. So I hope that answered your question. But
That's a good answer. That's a really good answer. Um, Well, I won't keep you too long today, but I think that what you said will encourage people. I think that a lot of people will watch this and go, "Wow!" Uh, and maybe if they were down in the dumps, or if they have an ambition, if they have something like a podcast they want to try, or they want to try something else that really they've been thinking about doing, I hope that that message that you told them inspires them and makes them uh, keep going and not give up. But I do thank you. Which I could chat with you after the show, but I just I just want to thank you for all your words, and uh, I'm looking forward to your shows, and I'm hoping all the best. I know that you're going to go up, just like Danny's going up. You're going to go up, and I'm going to do my best to share this and your show, and get some people interested that maybe haven't been hearing.
Well, Gary, I can speak on the behalf of myself and the KGC show crew. Thank you so much for what you do, not only for music, but what you do just every day. You inspire me, and from our talks that we've had, I needed this. This was therapy for me, and the last thing I will say is I want to dedicate this entire podcast to Mr. Toby Keith. I haven't been able to pay tribute to him in any other way. And I just felt like with this podcast, I want to dedicate it all to Mr. Toby Keith. And Gary, thank you so much for giving me a platform to come on here and talk. And it's been an honor. And anytime you'll ever want to talk, we can talk. I appreciate it. And we'll get you on my show as well.
Sure, man. That's awesome. Yes, and Toby Keith, one of my biggest influences in country music ever, and one of my favorites. So sad that he's not with us anymore, but that should be another encouragement. Like he said, about the list, the song "The List." Start living, because you're not promised tomorrow. But hey, if you're gonna live, might as well be positive. But that's good. Dedicating it to Toby is a great thing, and thank you, man, for this wonderful message. And yeah, we'll be talking to you. And like I said, I'll talk to you a little bit after the show. But thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you, Gary. It's my honor. And just know, everybody, that a guy like me can make it, and you guys can too. You're not alone. You have a voice, and your voice could be heard. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, man.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Kaden Collins, what a guy. Check him out on the KGC show and over on Twitter and wherever you can find him on social media. And I'll see you very soon. And always remember to keep the music real.